John, you're ready to start.
We're ready to go? All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our meeting of the Aiken Citizens Review Board. We actually have all of our members present, which is nice, even though we're at a virtual setting tonight. Did everybody receive a copy of the agenda and the bylaws as they've been marked up for possible changes?
Yes.
Anybody not received anything? All right. And Jeff, while we're on the subject, is your email address different than what it was at All's Firm?
That email is fine.
Okay. The one that we have is still okay for you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr.
That will work. I got everything.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for the confusion. Apparently there are some email addresses that are hidden for some reason in the listserv. I got educated this morning, so I was panicking that people weren't receiving everything, but that's something on our behind the scenes IT end. So sorry for thoroughly confusing everyone this morning with that email, but we're good.
Well, I'm going to dispense, I don't know, roll call is necessary because it's obvious from the virtual setting that we have every member currently of the Citizens Review Board with us virtually. The next topic is reports to committees, in this case, election of officers. The bylaws state that the proposed officers' names are to be presented in January, at the January meeting, and at the beginning of the February meeting, there should be an election. Upon the results of the election, those officers are to immediately take their positions and conduct the rest of the meeting. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Ann Dix. She has been the chairperson for the nominating committee, I think with Mike Beckner and Jody serving as well. Ann, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. The nominating committee submitted the slate of officers of the Citizen Review Board for the 2021 term at the January 11th, 2021 monthly meeting. Since the meeting, no additions, deletions were made to the slate. Mr. Moderator, the nominating committee submits the following slate of officers for the 2021 term. Moderator, John Dangler. Vice Moderator, Carmen Landy. Secretary, Katina Broadwater. Submitted by the nominating committee, Ann Dix, chair, Mike Beckner, and Jody, who were my cohorts.
All right, thank you. We have also, obviously, we can accept at this point any nominations from the floor. If anybody wishes to put forth a nomination other than what's been indicated, please say so. All right, hearing none, at this point, I guess we can certainly, seems to me, vote the slate in with a single vote. And I'll just ask for, you can either verbally or with a hand wave, all those in favor of the election of the officers as submitted by the nominating committees, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. No opposition. The officers that the nominating committee had presented are hereby deemed elected for the coming year. We have minutes that were given to us. Katina was good enough to get the minutes together. Did everybody have a chance to review those? And if anybody had any problems, let me know. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes from our last meeting in January.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You have had the agenda given to you. Does anybody wish to make any changes to our agenda that we have? Oh, hearing nothing. Okay. No communications that I know of that we've gotten at the moment from the mayor, city manager, public safety director. So I'll move us down to, we're under board member announcements, and Mike Beckner's been very good not only to link up with our new board member, Alex Leguizamon, and but also we've talked about the possibility of another addition. So Mike, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Well, yeah, I don't know if everyone's had the opportunity to meet Alex Alejandro Leguizamon yet, but Alex, thanks for joining us, and glad the mayor reached out to you and invited you on board. I've been in touch with Alex, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at the orientation videos yet, Alex. Were you able to do that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. I reviewed those as well, and now that Alex has reviewed those, according to the bylaws, he is now undergone his orientation, and he can now serve as a voting member of the board. That was a prerequisite. I did note, after watching them again, I remembered that I had seen them before, and I am still disappointed in the sound quality because the ambient noise is so loud. The speakers should have been mic'd, and apparently the speaker was on the table or near where the rest of the group was, but it was rather difficult to understand. So again, on behalf of everyone, Alex, I apologize for that. So that's all I have on that. As far as the 11th member is concerned, just to bring up from last time, I mean, I'm happy to do it. Somebody else can certainly do it, but we had spoken about maybe approaching the faculty at USC Aiken or Aiken Tech and asking that if maybe a younger member of the faculty would be interested in being on the board, rounding out our number to the unround number of 11. And so I guess I would ask you all at some point in the agenda, I'm not sure whether it's under new business or what, but maybe to consider discussing that again and deciding if we want to go forward with that or if you all have other ideas. But since it takes a while to get new members on board, maybe we ought to start thinking now and anticipating for the future.
Yeah. We're going to get into, Mike, in a few minutes, of course, the bylaw changes, and one of them is talking about terms. And so in some respects, by bringing on another member, it will help when we do lose some of the current members if we go ahead and implement these 3-year terms that was talked about. So it may not be a bad idea. I had mentioned the thought, and I don't know where maybe Mary Catherine, you could run this through Stuart Bedenbauer, the mayor, before we start to make some inquiries and try to figure out the the type of person we want from the faculty. Do we need the blessings from the mayor? We hate to reach out to somebody and talk to them about the possibility of joining us and find out that's not something the mayor wants us to do. So that was my only thought on that. I don't know how you'd want to proceed. Mayor is very difficult to reach and get response from. He's a very busy guy. So it could take some time. I'll be happy to do that if you would like, Mike.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll reach out to him, tell him we're talking about 11th member, and the suggestion was somebody representing the university.
Let me offer that because of the kind of group this is, that any citizen who's qualified is supposed to be welcome to offer their services. And so we shouldn't be, in other words, we should receive a request to join from anybody who wants to request to join. So I don't want us to kind of cherry pick based on the mayor's recommendation or his desire to hear, because citizens can volunteer for anything. And then when it's time for us to admit new people, then they can vet those folks who have offered their name. So I just don't want us to like not encourage people or not be encouraged to ask people if they're interested, because I mean, there could come a time when there's an opening and they could be offered. So I just don't want to restrict us
Yeah.
that way.
And I did
No,
update.
it's-
I don't know if you noted the comment in the bylaws. I know we'll talk about the bylaws, but you all had asked that I get clarification on the standard operating procedure for noticing vacancies. And so I spoke with Sarah right out, the clerk. She said they do not advertise vacancies, but there is a form that's always available on the city website. And it's just a standard form with a drop down list of all of the boards and commissions. And we could very simply add Citizens Review Board to that selection list. So if anyone wanted to share their interest in whether a seat is currently vacant or not, they could go on, fill out that form, and then the clerk collects those and disseminates them to the mayor.
And my suggestion,
Yeah.
I would suggest that those who know people may be interested, that we submit more than one name to him, you know, a list of names
sure.
of people that if we know individually who are interested in serving.
Yeah, my only reason for doing what I did, Carmen, was to try to meet the spirit of the board as it was, you know, defined as large a cross section of the demographics as we could get. And but I certainly concur with your feeling.
Yeah.
And I would like to basically, I don't think we should be in the recruitment business. That's
I don't
something
either.
that the mayor and the city council do. But again, you know, they're so busy and with other priorities, I'm sure, not that this isn't a priority, but you know, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into some of this. So if we could encourage people, like Ann said, just if, you know, to apply, if you will, and then let the folks who decide.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with the process up to this point. I didn't want to. I just wanted to make sure that we kept our minds open for the future as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But let me suggest this. Let me start with reaching out to the mayor and tell him, since we now have 10 people, that our thought would be it would be best to cap us off with 11, just so we have an odd number. If we run into a vote that requires a majority, we don't have an issue. And if he's all right with that, then I'm going to guess how he would like us to proceed with the 11th person. Do we let the city put out something as suggested on the website? Or do we know of people that might represent a good member for the board, and we submit those names through the mayor, something like that? I'd like to get some direction. I don't want to start doing all this and he says, no, I don't want to do it that way. So, Yanni?
My recommendation would be, when you reach out to him, tell him the demographics that we're looking for. I think everybody on this board may be over 40, 35, 40. So
say 25, Miss Ann. Say 25, and so that
we're looking for somebody in the 25 to 35 age range group, you know, because there is that different perspective.
I actually go ahead, Charity. I'm sorry.
I'm friends with the president of Aiken Tech. He's on another board that I serve on. I could talk to him and see. I don't know whether they have a criminal justice program there or something that would be appropriate in that regard.
Okay. Or
somebody that would be, you know, where this would be an adjunct to what they're already studying or pursuing, or a professor of some, you know, if there's a professor in that kind of program who might be interested.
And I wanted to add that Mary Catherine threw out earlier that there is some provision in the revisions that we're going to be entertaining in a minute about what that recruitment and application looks like. So there is, as we move through the bylaws discussion, there's a form and some other stuff that some language there that can help guide that. And I think if we use what we have there, then it's good.
Okay.
May I ask
All right,
a
let me-
question?
Yes, James.
Is the Citizens Review Board made up of citizens of Aiken or Aiken County? I've been thinking about Aiken Technical College as well, and then I was thinking about USC Aiken. But I was just wondering, is it someone who is a citizen of the city or whatever of Aiken?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a requirement that we have to live in the city of Aiken, although probably it would be a good idea since we're the city of Aiken board.
Well, I don't live in the city limits. I live across the street from the city limits, but yeah, I'm not a city resident.
Yeah. That's another good question. I'll pose that to the mayor whenever I get a hold of him. The county, if you go to the county, you know how large the county is. We're supposedly the same size as the state of Rhode Island. And so let me do some discussions with the mayor, tell him what our thinking is, and whatever his response is, I'll get back to you all with an email, and we can go from there. I don't know. This may take us a while. Poor Alex, we've been looking for you to join us for some time, and we just needed to finally get the mayor to reach out to you. So it's better late than never. But at any rate, okay. I think we got a sense of what we're looking for, and again, a person who again allows us to continue to have a diverse board is what's important. All right. Anything else on that?
Mr. Chair, one final comment is, as I listen to Carmen talking, there are some people who would just love to be on this board, but it is not for the same reason that we are on this board and whatnot. So we're gonna have to be careful about just because someone wants to serve. We've got to be sure that the reason and how the mayor and or whoever else is making the decision, we just got to be careful about just because a person wants to serve.
That very good comment. Yes, I totally agree with you. All right, we can move on. I don't have any reports. We're going to move soon into bylaws. I want to thank Jody and Mary Catherine and anybody else that has put forth some comments towards making these revisions to our bylaws. It's not easy. And
Well, I did almost nothing, but I can tell you, Mary Catherine has done a yeoman's job on this. Seriously,
well,
and it was not easy. So bravo, brava.
Yeah, she did a good job. I mean, we probably need to tweak a few things. And of course, once we're comfortable with what we believe to be the modifications, Mary Catherine, did you find out what's the process? We can't, I would think the mayor or council has to bless what we've done because they created these to begin with.
No, there's no language in the bylaws about, I suggested adding a line that would encourage adoption or presentation to council, but there's nothing in the enabling ordinance for this group that talks about the passage of bylaws or amendments. So I certainly think that it would be good, even though I found no requirement in any of the by the letter of the law to do so, I think it would be
Okay.
good practice to submit the proposed changes to city council, even if it's just as information and invite their feedback. But I think that that's kind of up to you all.
Well, again, I don't want to go to all the trouble to do this and then find out they didn't feel we had the authority or so forth. Don't forget when we ran into an issue about how we review complaints, they were rewriting all of our bylaws without any of us participating. So,
Can I say too that they were not, if I'm not mistaken, city council wasn't a part of the creation of these bylaws to begin
Okay.
with. They originated within this body and were approved by the body. And so I think it makes sense to give them for information. But what public safety was doing was redoing our process and our procedure and not necessarily our bylaws.
Right.
But I think it makes sense to give them give them a reason, an opportunity to look at them for their information. I agree
Right.
with that, Mary Catherine.
And
Yeah,
we're
I know
adding,
that we did create the bylaws and we passed the bylaws, but we also did have to send them to the mayor and city council. Isn't that right, Clark? I remember that very clearly, that we had to send them to the mayor and the city council, and they just kind of rubber stamped it. But they wanted a copy of it for sure.
Yes, yes. And I
Okay.
think for due diligence, we ought to do that.
all right. So when we finally get to where we feel are sufficient changes to bring us current with anything that has developed, we should submit that then through Mary Catherine to at least start with our city manager and the mayor, and they could disseminate it if they want to the council. Okay. All right. I hope everybody had some time to look over. A lot of you got busy schedules to look over some of the many of the changes. I did. Do we want to kind of go through these, and anybody wants to jump in with any comments? I can start us off on the front page under membership, under terms. We had a lot of discussions about those. Since it's been so hard to get somebody on the board, I had just started off with, do we just basically stay on as long as the mayor wants us on? And I think Carmen had a good point. We do need to rotate off after many years to just bring on some new people. And we came back, do we want to have a maximum of 2 3-year terms, which most boards, in my experience, that's what they have. And again, bringing on some new people. Now, that does mean that a number of you are well into your second 3-year term. And I'm certainly not wanting any of you to come off, but that's what would happen. So I put some asterisks, and what's your thoughts on all that? Ann?
With the city of Aiken, the board members that are appointed usually stays as long as they decide they want to stay, unless they have committed some, something that would allow them, that would discredit them from serving on that board. Because I've served on a couple of boards for 10, 15 years. My husband has been on one for 30-something years. I think Mr. Gallman has been on one for, I don't know, how old are you, James?
Nah,
So, that is the
not old
procedure.
enough to get a vaccine yet.
Yeah, that is the procedure that I have noticed when I've noticed boards appointments been made. Is usually they just renominate them. Now, this board, we can decide differently, because maybe we want that diversity is rotating on and off, but that is the way that I've noticed that the city has operated. Am I correct, Mary Catherine?
Pretty much. The other boards are different in that each city council member gets to appoint their own person to each board and commission. And so typically the only time you see turnover, unless the board member removes themselves from office, is if there's an election and the previous council member is ousted and the new person appoints whoever they want to that seat. Yes.
Now, the private boards like Helping Hands, I haven't been on their board, but I've been on other similar charities. They do have a 3-year term in which a member can serve for 2 3-year terms. And that's pretty normal. What's the thought? We have proposed in here, we serve, again, 3-year terms. Members may continue to serve successive 3-year terms with the consent of the member and the mayor. Some of you, jobs will change. Things may happen that you're not going to be able to continue, obviously, but I just open that up for discussion.
One thing I think we need to remember is that we have had a considerable amount of turnover on this board. Even though we have a number of original members, we have lost as many original members as we still have. So when we originally wrote the bylaws, there was a provision for step type going off. In other words, so that not every 3-year person went off at exactly the same time. There was kind of a, but we never had to implement that because after the first year, somebody was gone. And then after the second year, somebody else was gone. So we've had enough people dropping off in increments that we never had to go to that thing where we, so now the people that, the original people that are left, myself and Ann and Mr. Gallman and Katina and Jeffrey and Carmen and Clark are the remaining original people. We're just, we're the remainder of the original people. There were just as many who have gone off, like Mike has taken somebody's place, and then obviously Alex is new. And
I took Grant's place.
I don't know how, I'm not exactly sure how we deal with that. I'm not sure that, unless you draw straws and say, okay, all of these people now are in their second 3-year term. So you have to,
I know.
You can't just kick everybody off because then you wouldn't have.
Well, my suggestion on the language, if you all have that, is it to read, members of the board shall be appointed for 3-year terms. Members may continue to serve successive 3-year terms with the consent of the member and mayor, period.
And I also added a sentence after that because it says no greater than 11 members at any time. And I can't read my thing there because it's all crossed out, but it was something to the effect of unless special circumstances warrant and
oh, that's under the, I'm in the, you're under section 1 membership.
Yes, that last sentence I added that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Unless special circumstances, yeah.
Because if you say
anybody, let's go back to that.
We're never going under 7. Then if we do, for some reason, we have to change this again. So I think, considering almost anything is a special circumstance when you think about if we wanted to add a 12th person, or we probably won't, but I just think we need to leave our options open in that regard.
All right. Well,
can I make a motion that we approve the bylaws as edited? That will be my motion. I've reviewed them and I think that they're wonderful. The changes are good changes, and I move that we adopt them as changed.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I heard his motion. I trust there'll be some discussion because I did have a question myself.
Well, once you second, then we can have a discussion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second to Jeffrey's motion?
I'll second it.
All right. We want to have some discussion on it. Go ahead.
All right. Let me find it. And I join in thanking everyone who set their hand to it. This was principally my responsibility. I realize it, and I probably dropped the ball in that regard. So I appreciate it. Y'all done my work for me, and I think they're excellent changes, and they bring us current. There was one issue I had about numbers, quorum, what happened. Let me go back to Mary Catherine's PDF. That's more. Hold on. I'm sorry to keep everybody.
Maybe under section 5, voting.
Yeah, section 5.
Is that the bylaws
Is that on the
or the
policies and
policies and procedures?
This is in
Now I have a
appendix
question
one.
with that.
So
Yeah.
in Clark, while you're looking, can I ask, because Mary Catherine has several questions in this document that she wants us
Right,
to
and I think
answer
we
for
need to
her.
deal with those.
And we need to process that for her directly so that we can make the document complete. I agree that it is a complete document and it's well done. But she has questions that she's directed to us, so I think we need to answer them in the comment.
I'm close.
Okay, very good. Mary Catherine, I want to suggest that section 4, in the bylaws, under Article 4, Section 4, you had a question there about the on a complaint in parentheses there. And I think that sentence is supposed to say orientation program on processing a complaint.
Where are we?
We're on the page, on the second page, the top of the second page, section 4 of Article 4 under membership. It's the end. And so it says completion of an orientation program by new members within 30 days of appointment. Each such new member shall complete an orientation program on processing a complaint that's prescribed by the city council.
You know, I just took that whole thing out. I just said, complete an orientation program prescribed by the city council. I don't know that we have to get into such detail. What do you think? I mean, if we
Either
ever
way,
wanted
I
to
was just
open up-
trying to clarify what was there so that
Right.
we could, and I'm okay with either way, but we just need
Yeah.
to agree on that.
Yeah, I think
All
it's
right.
clearer just to take that out and just say complete an orientation program.
I can agree with that.
Clark, was that
Thank you, Carmen and Jody.
under section 5 under voting, which is that's Article 1. This is your appendix. Section
That's-
5 talks about voting. I had talked about before, board take no action, meeting other than recess or adjourn, absence of quorum. And I had said before, I guess a quorum, you could be whatever that board wants to make it, but my experience has been it's always 50% plus 1,
Mr.
which
Chair,
makes it an effective. Yes.
may I ask that we do the bylaws before we go to policies and procedures?
Yeah, can we just
I
go in
agree.
order and maybe do each page as we
Okay.
get them done?
All right.
Sorry,
We're
just
done
a-
on.
Carmen, just to follow up on that, is it accurate to say prescribed by the city council? Is that orientation video? Was that what they specifically directed, or do you?
It
think
is not.
Okay,
So I just think I don't know whether we say I don't know how we put that there, but the city council, I don't think told us how to orient.
No,
Did
we
they?
did it with ADPS. So
Yeah.
I just think an orientation program, period, and let it go. with that.
Period. That's probably
the rest
better.
of-
than we.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest that at some point, somewhere, in some manner, that we come up with a definitive orientation program.
I agree.
Because,
Got
and I don't think we should rely on city council unless we meet with them and explain to them, more in detail, what it is we do. Because I
agree.
think we're going to be sorely disappointed when some of our future members, don't really know what the heck's going on.
Right.
I agree.
All right. So we'll just orientation program as prescribed by the Citizens Review Board.
Just orientation program.
It's a program.
Orientation program,
Yes.
period.
All
I
right.
think that's all you need to say.
Orientation program, period.
Yeah.
End of that
got it.
section. That sounds
Judge.
fine. Okay. Yes.
I think we and this is an important step in the life of our board. The motion that Jeffrey made, of course, is to adopt them as amended. I understand Mayor Lawton has some questions. I have at least one question. You got close to it a second ago. But I think what we need to do for the record is if we're going to make changes to this proposal, that we add those proposed changes to the motion, have the motion amended at some point, and ask the movement if he consents to that.
Right, I was just going to say, good point. Jeffrey would have to consent to those changes to be included in his motion, or we'd have to take a vote on his motion as it was. So,
Just
so
for
we want to
formality
continue where we. No, I
Well,
got you.
I don't,
Well,
you know, I don't
we
think we
want
need to walk. I don't think we need to walk through all of them. I think if anybody has any questions about any proposed changes, they should bring them up and either have them clarified or ask that the motion be amended. Now, we got one thing. Let me, for example, get to mine. We're in a discussion. So
Well, if we can go through it in an orderly fashion, I think we'll be through a lot faster. So if we can answer Mary Catherine's questions on each page, then
Exactly.
we'll
That's
get
fair.
to everybody.
That's fair. Sure.
That's fair.
Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay, are you
Where are we at now with,
We're on page 2.
right? Anybody else have anything on page 2?
I mean, social security
So
number.
I updated the section 6 to reflect what I've explained to you that was relayed to me by the city clerk. So I did change that. That's different from what we discussed pursuant to my homework.
That's
Right.
fine.
Thank
Okay.
you. In section 4, Mary Catherine, you asked about the minutes within a week of each meeting, and whether that was enough time. And I'd like to suggest 7 business days.
Where are we?
Section 4 under powers and duties of secretary, I think.
Oh. What was your suggestion, Carmen?
7 business days
Instead of
instead of 1
1 week.
week.
It's, yeah.
There's a question about whether we should be in executive session for this. Is it okay for us to be here in open session?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It was a question posed in the chat.
No,
Good question.
Okay, anybody else on that section?
There is another question on section 4 under powers and duties of the secretary about the emergency meeting. And she just wanted feedback from us on her change there.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
If I can't think of a reason that there would be an emergency meeting called, but if some crazy case came up that warranted y'all's input or involvement, I just wanted you to have the flexibility to have a shorter notice period.
Yeah.
And that is still compliant with federal Freedom of Information Act notice laws.
All right.
Well, there's also the question on the annual meeting at which nominations are reported. The nominating committee and election of officers. Secretary shall preside over the election process.
Yeah,
We
Katina
didn't
and I
do
had
that
talked-
tonight, but we have done that in the past, and that is directly out of Robert's Rules of Order. So I think we should keep that, and we probably need to be more aware of that the next time. Too late now.
What section is that?
And that's what I told Mary Catherine. I said I didn't preside over the last one. So if it's either we do it or we don't do it. But
I think we should do it because that's the
Right.
proper way to do it. I mean, we need to be as
Right.
official as we can be here.
That is Article 5, Section 4. John, the second paragraph in Section 4.
Right.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I don't see anything on
Okay.
page 4.
Go on to continue under page 4, official statements of board, meetings. Anybody have any comments, any of that?
That looks good.
Page 5 runs into committees. Anybody have any need for any changes on that? Page 6. Changing some of the names there. Page 7, amendments to bylaws, the procedure for that, and really we weren't making many changes on any of that.
I think we
Policies and
just
procedures.
discussed that.
Page.
We've already
Excuse me?
talked about that.
Right.
And so I think, yes, some language needs to be added about council, mayor presentation at the end of Article 6, Article 11, I'm sorry.
So you think we
Yeah.
should submit it to the city council or we should
No,
not?
I mean, that's the conversation we just had.
I
thought
know.
we agreed that we should give it to them for information, right?
Right.
It's information, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can, at such time as the board has voted in any changes to our bylaws, we will provide a copy of such to the mayor and council, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
And that's the end of the bylaw.
Yeah, bylaws will have to contain some language to that effect. Yeah. All right.
And we have now reviewed the entire document, the entire bylaws document,
So
right?
now we're on the policies and
Appendix.
procedures.
Okay. Do we? Okay.
And
So Mary Catherine, what is your comment there about this should be removed? This violates FOIA requirements,
freedom of information.
section 2.
Where?
Did we lose Mary?
Oh,
So section top of right before section, the second page of the PMP, the policies and procedures.
Page 8, page 8 at the bottom.
yeah, you can't, my understanding of FOIA is that you cannot amend an agenda substantively after it's been posted. You can't, add an agenda item without having given due notice to the
Because it's a
public.
public meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't
that-
city
that-
council do that?
I don't know.
Isn't it city council, every time they ask, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, and you can rearrange the order. I think that's permissible, but to add
Okay.
one is the issue.
As you're talking about, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, a whole new topic that the public wasn't
Okay.
previously informed about. So that's fine. So that any change to the agenda other than the how the items are going to be discussed has to be done in advance of the meeting.
So so it's okay for me to just delete that sentence that allows for additions to the agenda, right?
I mean,
Well, not at
seriously,
the
if
meeting.
somebody had something to talk about, they can always bring it up under new business.
Business, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. All right. We're on to, I have some comments under voting, section 5. Now this is policies and procedures, article, I guess we're still in article 1. I had talked about, and Clark, Jeffrey, you guys can all weigh in on this. We have a quorum being 50% of a full board plus 1. And then it talks about board should take no action in a meeting other than to recess or adjourn in the absence of a quorum. I guess that's fine. We
And
don't
that
have
next
to
sentence,
have
the
the amount
next
of
sentence that
members.
says except as otherwise, I took that out because that makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Right,
I think it should come out as well.
I agree. So
Yeah, it come out.
are we comfortable with that? We're okay with that wording?
That was my question, and I agree with what everybody just said.
Where
Okay.
did that come from?
Captured that.
Where did that come from in the first place, and why was it included?
I have no idea.
You
What was
talking
that?
about to, with regard to voting?
You mean a quorum, the definition of a quorum, Mike?
No. The proviso that not fewer than 8 members is required.
Because originally
Oh.
8 members was our quorum.
Oh,
And I think
Yeah.
That,
memorialized in there and it never should have been.
oh,
It
okay.
should have just quorum, period.
all right. Anybody else, anything on that?
Additionally,
Conduct of business,
Additionally, in that
Yes, go ahead.
section, there is a sentence about every member of the board, including the chair, is required to cast a vote upon each motion. Is our chair? Are you voting, John?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I vote
Okay,
as
because I
every- as
remember at
every
one
member.
point we were saying that the chair was not casting a vote. So I just wanted to be sure. My question was, are we doing this? Okay.
Right, yeah.
And the
are.
last thing I wanted to ask is
okay.
proxies. Should proxies be done in writing?
Yeah,
But it can be by email.
But we consider that in writing as well,
Yes,
don't we?
exactly.
Okay. I just
Yeah,
wanted to be sure.
yes. And I think in light of today, I think email is probably the way most everybody would communicate. So if there's a major issue and somebody knows they're not gonna be able to make the meeting, they could communicate. Now, I guess the other question is they get in touch with the secretary and advise the secretary to cast a proxy vote for them. Do they also indicate how they want that vote to be cast?
Sure.
Yeah. I thought
So
that's,
it's not just vote. I mean, we'd like you to vote yes or no, or, whatever the topic may be.
In the
I
past, they
guess that would
have
be part of
provided
their-
their vote.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that
Oh,
sentence just needs
okay.
to add in writing, Mary Catherine.
Right. Okay. All right. I think if we're on to Article 2, which is conduct of business. I don't know that really anybody have anything there they want. It's on page 10 now.
Just
Okay.
just quickly, I want to comment there. Apparently, so I'm looking over the South Carolina Municipal Association breakdown of when you can add an item to an agenda after it has been published to the public. You can do it in 3 circumstances: information only item, an action item with public comment, and an action item without public comment. They are just the action item with public comment requires 2/3 vote of the members present, and so does the action item without public comment. And the other circumstances in emergency situations or exigent circumstances. So technically, that's correct. We can't add items, substantive items, once the meeting has started. We can add them if they meet those criteria.
That's good to know.
I can
Okay.
count
Thank you.
hands the times that has ever happened. We've never had to do.
But I think
Yeah.
I think what Jody said about new business probably in practical sense is probably what most people would do.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
Page
All right. Thank you. Anything on conduct of business, page 10? On page 11, if I may, I've got a couple little things.
No, I did.
Go ahead.
There was a comment. Sorry, Mr. Chair, on page 10.
Go ahead.
Did you all think that language addressed the we'd gotten into discussion about Robert's rules addressing executive session conduct.
Mhm.
When the board votes to dispense with Robert's rules under certain circumstances, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
So
Okay,
it's,
that's fine.
so this said the rules
Fine.
of Robert's rules shall govern the board in all cases, and in which they are not inconsistent with these bylaws. So to me, that says where the bylaws say differently, the bylaws trump Robert's rules. And so that addresses that executive session discussion that we had. But if you
Mhm.
interpret it differently,
I think it's fine.
I don't know if Robert's rules even
I-
deals with executive sessions, does it? I haven't looked at it in so long. I can't.
I
remember.
That
just
comes out
remember
of the
last
free-
meeting, someone said that their Robert's rules had specific treatment for executive session. So if we were going to not follow those when we've said that we're following Robert's rules, we need to note that exception. And I've noticed that to me, that says that. I hadn't noticed it the first time I read through the bylaws. But if you think that it doesn't capture that, then we can add specific language saying Robert's rules does not apply to executive session minute taking, I believe was a specific discussion.
I think what you have here reflects the spirit of what we were trying to get to.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is anybody else
page
having a
11?
thunderstorm? I'm having a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
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 I can't
Yeah.
get my dog out of my lap because of all the thunder.
I got a whole house generator, so
I'm going to be under
Um,
this desk in another minute.
we'll go, if I can, we'll try to move us along here. Under Roman numeral 4, board review disposition complaints, section 1. Where it reads disposition or resolution of a complaint, I would put a comma to the wordsmiths and then put the chair. You follow me? I'm nitpicking here, but total disposition of a complaint, comma, the chair of the board, da, da, da. You follow
What
that?
page is that? What page is that?
Page 11.
Okay,
It's, page 11, article 4, Roman number 4, section 1. In that first sentence, it goes on, it says disposition or resolution of a complaint. I'd put a comma there as long as we're writing this
Yes.
thing up. And then the chair shall assign such and such.
Got
Now,
it.
Section 2 talks about secretary notifying city manager of the board's receipt of the department's disposition or resolution. I assume that's what you're talking about when we receive a fully completed package, if you will, by Aiken Public Safety?
Yes, Mary Catherine and I discussed that a few days ago, and I advised her that the chair has been doing that. Do we want to change section 2 to the chair instead of the secretary of the board? Because the chair has always been the liaison.
Yeah. Well,
I was
have
under
to
the
say, I've
impression that
never.
we weren't communicating directly with complainants anymore, that it was only public safety.
Well,
This is with
this
the
is not-
city.
Yeah, the city manager of the board's receipt of the disposition, that has been the chair.
What happens, I believe, in this process now, when public safety, first of all, I'll get an alert. We've got 2 cases, as a matter of fact, that I just know they've been filed. They have not yet been completed by public safety.
Norman.
They get notified as I do. And Mary Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, when the full workup is done by public safety and sent to us, I think the mayor and manager get a copy as I do.
Yes.
So I
Yeah,
don't think we need to do anything there.
Well,
we-
that is
I
not
don't
coming to the
communicate.
secretary. So I think the action item would be to
Oh.
change that to the chair.
Yeah,
The
I think
chair
that,
is the liaison with the city.
I got you.
and then that sentence is incorrect, but
Mhm.
to Katina's point, change the title, the chair as liaison with the city. And then I don't really know how to update that language because the whole sentence is just inaccurate
All right.
altogether.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the whole section 3 is inaccurate. I mean, I'm
Right.
not sure we even need that in there, do we?
So we're on
Section,
section 3.
we were on section 2, but me and Mary Catherine discussed section 3 also, so
Yeah.
we do feel that way, Jody.
Because you don't actually do any of this anymore, do you? So
No.
section 3 is not even relevant.
And not only that, it doesn't, it's not relevant and it's not accurate in that it does not include the staff person that has been assigned.
Right.
Who never turns on her camera, Susan,
Right.
but who's been assigned to help make that part happen for us. Because I think, it's become somebody's job duty now. At the beginning, it wasn't, but
Right.
at this point, we have somebody assigned that helps with that function.
Yeah, so section 2, I agree, should say that the chair as liaison with the city rather than the secretary.
Right.
That's what you were talking about before. And then I think section 3 could just be eliminated. It's not even, it doesn't come forward.
Yeah, the only thing you get into is, and we very rarely, as you know, have it, if a complainant, first of all, they fill out a form and express their upset or whatever to the public safety and any information they have, and then public safety goes about conducting a thorough review of it all. They then communicate to the complainant what the results were.
Directly.
And the complainant is notified if you're not, basically I'm paraphrasing, you're not happy with it and you have new additional information that you would like the department or the board to see, please, submit it. And again, fortunately, I don't think hardly have ever had that, but if somebody did give us new information, the first thing I would do is that has to go to public safety for them to incorporate it in their investigation. It may be something they didn't have before, and it may change their findings.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to
before we-
happen.
Just what I've been doing, because when someone appeals to the board,
Yeah.
the whole point is that they're supposed to be submitting new information. I have not yet found any of the appeals to actually contain new information, but I just go ahead and send them. I let public safety interpret that, and I send exactly what I get to public safety the same day that I send it to you all to be processing, to give
That's the
public
right thing
safety an
to do.
opportunity to decide if they learned something new that would impact their investigation findings. It
Right.
hasn't yet,
And
but that's what I do.
We've had a couple complainants that are still very upset, even though they saw the workup and they don't have anything further to review, but they've submitted a written letter of some sort to us. Those are the ones that I have actually drafted a letter, as you've all seen, to that person, showing in detail what we
Right.
did and what we found, and again, saying something if there's something else that we didn't have, but that was our findings. And of course, fortunately, we've never heard anything further after that. So I wanted them to have a sense that we did take our job seriously and we looked over everything that was available. Do we want to work on that paragraph, or you think of deleting it? Is that what the sense is?
Taking 3 out, yeah. But I
But
just
here's the,
I'd like to have one comment. I do not think that an appeal, well, and I don't know. Okay, Jeffrey, you lawyers, you
Yeah.
correct me about this. Does an appeal always have to contain new information? My thing is, if I get a report from public safety and I'm not satisfied with what they say, I will write back to them and say that I would like for the Citizens Review Board to review this, whether it's new information or not. So you all could correct me on the law here.
The letter that goes from public safety to the complainant says that the Citizens Review Board has, don't they say that we have reviewed it or that we are reviewing it? I mean,
Not
we
the first one,
automatically
not the
get
first
every
time,
complaint.
not the first time.
So I think we're talking about two different things, because the appeal of the city's actions and the appeal of our support of or not of the disposition is two different things.
I'm talking about the appeal of the city's action.
Right. And I don't believe that needs new information. But I think if we've already made a decision and they think we're wrong, then we need new information. I
agree with that.
Yeah.
Can I just read to you quickly what the letter that what public safety sends? I'll read that paragraph. If you do not agree with the department's decision and you would like to request that it be considered by the Citizens Review Board, you must do so in writing within 15 days of the date of this letter. Please send this request with any supporting documentation to the CRB. Please be aware that any and all information must be submitted at this time. If there is new information, public safety will review it to determine if the findings will change. Once the review is completed, the CRB will advise you of their findings.
Yes.
Yes.
That's accurate.
That's very accurate.
The question is, do we need to incorporate that in some fashion into the in this section we've been talking about, or any other section here about board review of disposition?
So can I suggest that aside from section 3, this is the only part I think needs to be reworked, because that is the heart of the process. The rest of it is there and it's correct, but I think section 3 is the heart of how we get a case and what we do with it. So I don't agree with it being discarded, but I do disagree. I do agree that it should be reworked a little bit.
It needs to be rewritten then.
Reworded.
Yeah.
I agree with that comment.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Judge.
Yes.
Since I drafted these procedures initially, thinking back over it, I wrote that up before knowing that the letter from public safety to the complainant would include language about submitting additional information. I think that section 3 simply duplicates that effort, but I thought it was good that us as a board be reaching out to the complainant as opposed to public safety, against whom someone is presenting a complaint, be the one to tell them what to do at that point. You know, frankly, my thought has always been, from a philosophical standpoint, once public safety issues its decision with regard to the disposition of a complaint, as long as they've been given notice of the right to request that we review it, public safety's role in the process respectfully is ended. And I don't have any problem with the letter saying, listen, we got your complaint. By the way, if you want us to consider anything else, send it to us. And the spirit was, if they do, we send that to public safety and say, hey, they're submitting new information. What you say about it?
Right. Well, let me move this along. Why don't we play around with that? Everybody seems to agree that is probably a good part of the heart of all that we do here. And I'll try to play with some words, Jody, perhaps, Mary Catherine, see if we can come up with something that really reflects what we do and what we should be doing. That's all right.
But am I hearing, Clark, you to say that so we've talked about updating to reflect what we currently do. Are you suggesting that we change what we currently do? You're saying that the letter should not come from public safety in response?
I don't have a problem with it coming from both of us. I just think we should do it at a minimum. I don't think public safety ought to be telling complainants how to run their request for review or appeals, whatever we're going to call it. It's a pretty straightforward process. Public safety deals with it. If someone doesn't like what they did, they have a right to request that we review it. At that point, use a legal term, I think public safety has lost jurisdiction of the matter until we inquire as to whether or not they want to submit any additional information to us in the face of additional information submitted by a complainant.
Yeah, I agree. I think, but oftentimes we never hear again from the complainant after public safety does their write-up and submits to them, then we've taken a position. Yep.
as long as they've been given notice of the right for review and the procedure involved, I sleep at night.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what the verbiage that I read, that was from the letter that public safety sends saying you can now appeal to the CRB. So they are getting that in that letter.
Right. I think when we initially started the Mary Catherine, one of the things that we were concerned about was people confusing us with public safety, in that if the letter comes from the board, the CRB, then that says we have it, which is what we started out doing. I don't know if we still do that, but we don't.
No.
So, but that we have it. I guess at the point that we get, if they appeal, if they have a complaint, because we get all of the cases. So if they have a disagreement with that, then I guess we would send a letter then that says the board is considering your appeal.
Yeah. The current, I know that things have evolved. So just for everyone's knowledge, this is what happens. Someone calls in, there's an online form, they can call in, they can come to public safety, they can email. I mean, if we look at the forms, it has all those options. Somehow they submit a complaint to public safety for them to investigate. Public safety sends that letter that I read in part to you all, sharing their findings and giving them the option to appeal to the CRB. And then if someone does appeal, that's when I send that to you and you all review it as an appeal. So and only then do they receive communication from the CRB, only if they've appealed. So saying,
what is happening? I thought we were getting all complaints. You're saying we're not getting all complaints?
Oh,
no,
we do.
you get all complaints.
Okay. Because you said something about appeal. Okay. All right.
Well, what she's suggesting is when the workup is done and the complainant receives that from public safety, we've had occasions where people don't have any new information, but they're still not happy. They handwrite a letter. Those are the people that we get back in touch with. And
I understand
letter.
That.
We go through all the steps. But if we don't hear anything after they've gotten their workup from public safety, we just internally review them, but that's all.
So there's a whole other section about that on page 12 too, that deals with that whole thing.
All right.
Request for reconsideration, further request for reconsideration.
One thing I had on that in your, go ahead.
I was going to say, pursuant with Robert's rules, though, can we call the question on the vote for the bylaws, given that this is an appendix in the policies and procedures? Because this is not a part of the bylaws. It's an appendix.
It's an appendix.
We can do either way, whatever everybody wants to do.
However, I think it is incorporated. I think it does say it's incorporated in the bylaws, though.
Is it? Okay.
Oh.
I was trying to help us accomplish the task.
Moving right along.
Carmen and Mr. Chair, since we're getting into the critical function of what the board, I mean, this is essential to who you are and what you do. Would it be helpful for me to do just if this, then this, like who's getting what correspondence when kind of flow chart with and send that to you all, and you decide if you think something needs to change in terms of process before we go amend the bio,
Well, we have a motion here by Jeffrey that was seconded. Clark pointed that out, which
Jeffrey would have to table his motion at this point.
Yeah, we asked Jeff if you might want to with you to table it, or so that we could.
I would withdraw my motion.
Okay. All right. Withdrawn. The only thing I have on section 11, Jeffrey and Clark talks about with consent of public safety, panel may observe interviews with the complainant and other witnesses. We've never done that, and I don't know what kind of legal problems that presents if there's a lawsuit later on down the road, are we witnesses somehow in that suit because we observed the conduct of the officer in the interview or whatever? I had some concerns with that.
Well, let me talk to that if I can. First, I don't remember that. If you're referring to the last sentence, which starts additionally, section 11,
Yes, right.
bottom 12, bottom page 12.
Say that.
I don't recall writing that.
No, it's been written in. I don't know where it came
No,
from.
that's been written in and
By who?
I don't know. I didn't put it in.
No, I think that was a
Who
John.
messed with my policies?
I think that was a John edition,
Is it?
Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Oh. Well, I have consulted with city. I'll withdraw that because I just think that opens up all kinds of problems.
I agree.
Because we need to stay unbiased, neutral.
Right.
And I don't want to observe how they conduct it. I mean, that's, we've seen videos of arrests and things of that sort, but the conduct of an interview, which should be videoed anyhow today, all these videos of all that.
Let me speak to that. I've looked at it. And someone struck through including interviewing complainant or other witnesses. You know, this section dealt with reconsideration after a complainant says, y'all didn't do your job. I want you to reconsider it. My intention in drafting was to give us wide berth with regard to what we can do. And I personally don't have a bit of problem with asking a complainant if they're willing to come in and talk with us. Those panel members, now they may say, no, I've got a lawyer. The reason I'm doing this, I'm pursuing litigation, or I've been charged with something. And they have every right. We never interviewed anybody, by the way, but I felt like that's something that might be prudent to do.
Well, I took it as being basically overseeing an interview by public safety with a complainant. And you're talking about someone coming before us and waiving. I mean, they don't have their attorney with us and they still want to say whatever they want to say. We're almost conducted a little bit of a hearing with them, I suppose.
Well, I don't think it's really that extensive. It's just, if we got a question to fill a gap about what other means we can do it, we ought to ask the complainant to fill the gap. Again, we've never done it. It was just an option.
So just leave it in there in case we ever need to do it.
I think so. I think that's what I intended originally, and I still think that's good procedure.
So that's returning section.
Jeffrey, what?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Jeffrey's now a district attorney here. I wonder, I guess, again, I can't see. I mean, somebody may, yes, we're videoing it. They need to know that they may say something that actually does affect the investigation that they didn't tell public safety. I mean, who knows how that could work out, but.
Well, whenever you interview them, you would certainly tell them, listen, we're just seeking this information. It's voluntary on your part. There have been calls for subpoenas to be issued by us, and we have no power whatsoever to compel a person to come in and talk to us.
Right.
And it's more than maybe we ought to put that in. Maybe we could invite the complainant to fill a gap.
All right.
I mean, they can be advised that anything, they need to know that anything they say can be used in a criminal prosecution against them, of course. Just like anything they say out on the street or anywhere else.
Right.
Well, let me speak to that, Jeff. I hear what you're saying. Otherwise,
I don't think that it gives us any liability.
Well, what you're suggesting is, and for everybody's benefit, just basically Mirandizing people. And I don't think we have the power to do that or should be doing it. It is a polite invitation to someone to say, we've got your complaint. I'm not sure we fully understand it. There's certain information we need would you like to provide it? And they may say no, or I'd be happy to do it. And if it's of a sensitive nature, I agree with Jeff. Maybe we say, listen, this mate, you're currently under charges. You don't need to be talking to us. Okay.
Right.
And it's an invitation. I hadn't seen that sun move in Katina's backdrop. You're not in San Francisco. That's a picture, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I saw you fall into San Francisco Bay early. I was going to come look for you.
Can I add? I'm sorry, Miss Ann, go ahead.
I guess I'm listening to this discussion and I have problems with inviting someone in if they have not requested, even if we don't understand what's going there, if they have not made the appeal. I just think that's touchy, well, slippery slope.
And not to interrupt you, okay? This is a provision that provides for us reconsidering what we've done upon the request of the complainant. The complainant is saying, no, you didn't get it, CRB. I want you to look at it again. And that's an affirmative act from the complainant asking for us to reconsider the decision. And I think it was appropriate at that point. Okay, we missed something. Tell us what we missed.
Yeah. Okay. As long as it is the complainant's initiative, that's all I want.
Yes. That's.
Yeah, I don't want to be sitting at a table having a couple of uninvited people screaming obscenities at us, which has happened.
That's never happened before.
What are you talking about, Jody?
Yeah. And I was just about to say, in that vein, we have, completed the complaint, rendered our decision, or to the city, and the complainants have came to the meeting to tell us or talk to us about what they really meant. So
the guy, the drug search in his backyard, that abandoned property.
Yeah. Like I said, as long as it's complainant driven.
Right.
It is.
But I don't want to interview someone. I'm with Ann and Jody there. I don't want to initiate an interview.
No, I agree. I think
well, just let me add, let me put it in context. That's the reason I didn't put in the policies that upon receipt of the disposition from public safety, that we've got this wide berth, whatever you want to call it, opportunity to bring everybody in and figure out what's going on. We do it on a paper record, okay? I'm talking about reconsideration where you've got a complainant who really feels honestly that public safety got it wrong, we got it wrong, and I would like to know why we got it wrong if they're still complaining after we issued our decision.
Understood.
I don't disagree with that. May I add though, section 9, y'all, I think needs to be restored. I think it's what we have there now is too simplistic. And I don't know that it conveys the spirit of what was in the document before.
Well, that was the subject of a discussion with the mayor and the chief at one point. I think that was before your time, John. And maybe even before Mike. We had a discussion, I think it might have been Grant, about how we would communicate, and because it was our habit at the time, Katina, to send a letter to every complainant, correct? That was changed by public safety and the mayor. And we were told pretty much, here's how it is. We will send a letter and you will only communicate with the complainant if they appeal, period. And that's why they say in their letter, if you are not happy with this, you can communicate with the Citizens Review Board, or you can appeal to the Citizens Review Board. I think to be fair, that they were thinking there was a lot of duplication going on and that we did not need to be doing that. And it was also taking more time because the person who had filed the complaint was having to wait until we had seen the complaint before they got any kind of communication concerning the complaint. So I think their feeling was that when they were finished with it and it was sent to us, they could send something to the complainant telling them what they had decided. And then if they wanted to appeal to the board, but there isn't anything in that letter that says we are reviewing the complaint. So, I think we could probably do away with a couple of steps if we simply said this has been forwarded to the Citizens Review Board for their review, and and let it go at that. If you wish to appeal, you can. But I think it would be nice if they knew we were looking at things and that we were seeing the complaints. And I think now in that letter, there's no way to tell people that.
And I believe that Article
So
9, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say the suggestion is then every single complaint, which we all look at, we all do that, whether the complainant has any problems with the work done by public safety or not, we should still communicate with the complainant that we saw the full workup, and so forth, and receiving no new information, we agree with the findings by the department, something like that. So you want that complainant to receive something, the review board looked at it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what's there. I just feel like there's probably not enough information there. I feel like what it's replacing is probably has more information in section 9.
You're talking about
mainly,
notification of complainant and city manager. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want
so specifically what I'm talking about is that the person has 15 days to request that the board reconsider its decision and provide additional information, which means this is beyond the first set of,
Correct.
This is beyond that.
Correct.
And I feel like the two sentences that replace all of that may not be as representative as that full statement. That's all I'm saying. May not convey that full thought.
All right, well,
Well, it probably just needs to be rewritten. I think it needs to be rewritten.
yeah. Have you have any language that you feel comfortable with, Carmen? If you might just shoot that out in an email that we can work on it. So we don't want to be working in a different direction of what your thoughts are here. These are really good. These topics are really the heart of what we do. And so, all right. And going on further about the consent with conduct interviews. Do we still want to have that language in there, or what's the feeling of the board?
You talking about the reconsideration part or the?
Yes.
They're on 9. Are we?
And do we even need to have that wording in there?
The board shall review all complaints after receiving the initial citizens' complaint.
We can go ahead and invite the complainant to come to a meeting, or maybe we don't want to do that, but.
No, my thing, a complainant comes to the meeting to me only if they appeal. I mean, that's the way I feel about that.
I agree with that 100%.
And they have something new that they feel that we missed. Yeah.
I don't think section 11 really needed anything. I think we could lose the addendum and leave it as it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave that last sentence off. You talking about?
Yeah, just leave it as it was. Restore it.
Okay.
As it was. That's my suggestion. But there 11.
We're on
there's
11.
8 more, y'all.
11, is that what you're saying? Okay, I missed it up. I just
Alex,
have a
you tracking all this?
I have a question about number 9. Are we going to take out the word additional?
I think we were going to reword section 9.
Okay.
And they were talking about section 11.
Okay.
Right.
I apologize for taking you back to 9. I thought we had settled section 11. I apologize.
Okay. And I just had made a note here. I know we have to say on section 10, if the complainant does come up with new information, the first thing we're going to do is send it back to public safety if they had something they had not seen before.
Right.
I don't know if
Right.
we have to do that. I mean, that's how we conduct things anyhow, but.
Yeah.
And with,
all
and are
right,
we taking out the last sentence in section 11?
That's what's being suggested, yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's want to make sure. Okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
Has Jeffrey's
All right.
motion been withdrawn?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna suggest that thankfully, Mary Catherine, Jody, and reach out to any of us. We'll go through and see if we can make some changes and incorporate it. We covered a lot of stuff. Poor Alex is boring him to death here, I'm sure.
No.
Well, that's why I asked him earlier if he still wants to be part of the board after this.
Yeah.
Too late, Alex. Too late, Alex. Too late.
It's not usually this boring, Alex.
I am going to, on the beginning we talked about, I will reach out to the mayor, talk about our thoughts of maybe having an 11th person just to have an odd group, an odd number. And there's been some talk about perhaps somebody in a 25 to 35-year-old age group, and just get his thoughts on it. He may say, go ahead and find a couple candidates and give me their names and let me sort them out. That's about all I think we could do. I just don't want to spend a lot of time. And he says, no, I don't want you to add any more.
Well, we
Or,
need to
so,
deal with this motion that we have on the.
We can do
On the
that.
He withdrew the motion.
Well, he
withdrew
withdrew the motion, and
Oh,
I
it's
got
been
a
withdrawn?
motion.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
I got a motion, Judge.
It's been withdrawn, and we'll continue with this. We'll work up the changes and see if we can get everybody to review them. We should
That's
hopefully
my-
have 2 full cases by. Go ahead. We'll have 2 cases,
I-
I believe. One case that came in actually a while ago has allegations against the captains and all that, so it requires even higher levels of officers to review them. So they're going to take a while, but we hopefully will have those done for us to look at our next meeting on the second Thursday. And I'm assuming unfortunately, for a long time, we're going to continue in this format. So.
Well, that's my motion. Let's get. I move that we have Mary Catherine dress them up a little bit more, give them back to us,
Yes.
and let's continue our review. I think we're getting real close myself, but we
Yeah,
need to
I think
see a cleaned up version of our changes. And I move that whatever changes we discuss tonight be in fact incorporated in the next draft.
Second.
Okay.
So
All right,
Carmen
Mary
and
Catherine,
John
any
will have
questions?
to, Carmen and John will have to confer with Mary Catherine on that section 9.
And I'm happy to stand by and assist since I was the original author, okay?
Thank
Along
you.
with Jody.
So we have a motion and a second.
For
Yeah.
Mary Catherine.
Now, there's a
No, we have
motion on
no
the floor.
motion.
A second.
No, it was withdrawn.
I second it.
Which motion?
Jeffrey's motion was withdrawn. Clark, what was your
No.
motion again?
Clark made a motion.
Made a
You ready for my motion again?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna revise it a little bit. First, I move that we incorporated the changes that we agreed to tonight, number 1. Number 2, I move that Mary Catherine incorporate those changes and give us another draft version of revised bylaws and procedures, the appendix, to be presented to us at our next meeting. And I would ask that they be presented a few days before, Mary Catherine, as you have diligently and professionally done. I can't tell you how much I appreciate her. assistance.
Kudos to Mary
Mhm.
Catherine.
You
Absolutely.
got a
Yeah,
second.
very good.
I got Wonder
Thank you.
Woman second that motion.
That's an upside down second.
All right.
My granddaughter
Almost.
has that same T-shirt.
Do we have a second on that motion? That was
Second.
Carmen's second.
Carmen,
Carmen.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 That's
All
that
right.
hand. Look at that.
Ayes have it. All right. I think that, anybody else have anything for the good and
Yes.
order? I think otherwise,
Mr.
Mayor-
Chairman,
yeah, Mary Catherine.
if you would all please look at the directory as it stands, Mike had put together a directory with all of your contact information last year. I had added our new board members' information to that. And in so doing, I think we've noticed that there are, I don't know if your panels are all correct. So basically, if you'd all look at your panels and make sure that they're accurate now, and we can change that. I can, if you want to shoot me changes or we discuss it at an upcoming meeting, but just, I think that
You'll
would help.
need to assign Alex to a panel.
Yeah, what I'm going to do, since we technically have officers, in this case, obviously remain in place, but I think we're kind of starting our new year off. I'll go through and reassign everybody. I think right now my thought is just to have 2 panels. We don't have enough cases. If you have 3 panels,
2 panels is fine.
I think 2 panels would be enough.
Yes.
And I said panels,
we'll-
I also mean committees, your subcommittees, orientation,
Yeah.
bylaws.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Are all those things still accurate?
And I am not on the bylaw committee.
Well, you did
Me
it great.
either.
Somebody had my name on the bylaw committee. I think Jody did that.
No, I swear I didn't. I didn't even want my name. on it.
No. All right, I'll go ahead and do that and send something out here during the next, during this week for everybody to see.
Mr. Chairman, I got one more question before I move to adjourn.
Yes.
Your wife's still making you work in a broom closet?
Yeah,
thought
I
it was
am.
a garage.
Yeah. I get bread and water and I get out for a little walk during the day and that's about it. Yep.
Well, you got a clock on the wall. Is that what you monitor when it's break time?
Yeah,
Get some
I
water or
do.
something?
That's right. It's
Y'all
got
are
a little,
streaming live on YouTube and being recorded.
it's got a little metal cover around it so you can't
I
even
keep
smash it.
forgetting I move we adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Everybody
Aye.
stay well.
Bye-bye.
Stay
Thank
well.
you,
See
Mary
next
Catherine.
month.
Call your
Thank
mother.
you.